Hello everyone. Welcome to the new series of podcasts by Testhouse, QPOD. We are excited to bring to you some of the interesting tech topics and the perspectives of our experts about the same. My name is Alfie Christina and I will be your host for the episode. On today's podcast, we have George Ukkuru, Chief Solutions Officer of Testhouse, who has been in the automation industry for more than 2 decades. We will be discussing how AI makes testing better, about some of the use cases, and much more. Thank you so much, George, for taking the time to join us here. So,
Thank
without
you.
further without further ado, let me start with my first question.
Sure.
What impact is AI having on the world of software industry right now? Software testing in specific.
Okay. So, Alfie, if you look at software testing as a stream, I think it has been in existence for more than 3 decades. And but even now, we have a lot of challenges that are not addressed. I'll share a few examples. If you look at the quality of user stories or requirements, there has not been a great set of improvement or maybe a great improvement in the quality since the last couple of decades. We still struggle to actually provide a feedback around application quality to development team at pace. There is a lot of data that is actually collected around testing. There's a lot of meaningful insights that we can derive, but we always struggle to generate insights as well as to make predictions. At the same time, the amount of coverage that you're actually offering around testing, it is very tough to measure it, as well as the developer testing coverage is also very less. I think that has been a problem for years together. And then we also have a problem in determining like what kind of tests we need to execute for a build that has been handed over for testing. And there are several other challenges, and all of these challenges we have not been able to solve them using the traditional practices, solutions, as well as the platforms that we have been having for years. That is where AI can actually help us. So it is not just one or two technologies, actually a combination of AI technologies. I would include advanced machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, predictive analytics, as well as robotics that can actually help us solve some of these problems that we have been having around software testing. And the end objective is to actually build software at a much faster pace, and then also make that build cheaper. So that is something that we can actually accomplish by applying AI. Let's now take an example of one of the problems that is actually explaining around the developer testing coverage. So over the couple of, I would say it has always been a problem. The developer testing coverage has been very less, and there are multiple reasons due to which the coverage has been pretty low. I would say the primary reason is the lack of time to design tests, because writing a single unit test case itself would actually take around 8 to 12 minutes of time. And for a developer to achieve a decent amount of test coverage, he or she may have to spend a considerable amount of time designing hundreds or thousands of test cases. And as you currently work in agile sprints, which are basically 3 to 4 weeks in duration, developers also will not get a lot of time to complete their coding as well as design, and then they actually give a lowest amount of priority to unit testing. So this actually results in the shifting of responsibility of finding defects to the test engineers who are part of the agile teams. Now, the situation is very different. AI technology is actually matured. Now there are tools that can actually analyze your code, look at the logic that the developer has actually written, and then design good quality unit test cases. That too in a couple of minutes time. So what this actually helps us is, how this basically helps us is basically, it actually helps you to improve the coverage of developer testing. At the same time, you're not actually putting in a lot of effort in deriving these test cases. These are actually automatically generated. So this is just one example, but over a period of time, what I have seen is basically the maturity of and reliability of AI systems have actually improved, and over the next couple of years, we can actually see more of such solutions coming in. So that's a short answer, Alfie, to your question around AI and software testing use cases, or what do you call trends.
Okay, so technically it makes everything better related to software testing.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. So, could you please take me through some of the AI use cases for test automation?
Yes, so there are multiple areas where artificial intelligence can be used within testing, but I'll actually touch upon test automation because that's something that you were asking me. So maybe within test automation, I'll actually take maybe 4 different areas where we can actually apply AI. One is basically around test design or automation of the creation of tests. So, as I was mentioning earlier, there are tools that can actually help you to generate intelligent test cases from code, and there are similar solutions that can be used in order to generate test cases from an API. It can be an API that is stored under maybe a software like Swagger, or you may actually have workflows documented as part of your application documentation. You can use all of these inputs to generate test cases or automation scripts. So there are these kind of solutions would definitely help you to reduce the overall effort that you might be spending around test design. At the same time, it actually optimizes the testing or the number of test cases that you're actually writing without compromising on the coverage or on the application quality. The second opportunity to use AI is around providing faster feedback to developers. So one of the opportunities that the tester might have is to actually use something like autonomous bots that can actually navigate through your application without even having a tester spending time to design tests. The autonomous bot will actually have the intelligence to navigate through the application to identify workflows and to validate the functionality within each screen. So the advantage is basically if you want to test a mobile app that works with multiple Android and iOS phones, you can actually use these kind of bots to do the basic level of testing. Basically, what the application does is basically crawling, and it actually has the intelligence to actually understand the workflows and then give you a set of issues. It can be non-functional or functional type of issues that you actually get as the output. But these kind of autonomous bots are very much useful in actually understanding or giving the basic feedback or the around the application quality. It may take years, a couple of more years to actually have this level of maturity where you can actually completely rely on these bots to actually give the feedback on application quality. But at this moment, it actually has the capability to do at least sanity or smoke type of test. The third area where testers often struggle in order to carry out testing on a build that is given to them is basically around to determine what type of test you should be executing on a given build, because you don't have any clue on what the developer has actually done with this particular build. It is not known to you whether the developer has actually modified maybe a set of lines of code, or whether lines of code have been removed, or there are new lines of code that has been added. So you don't actually get that visibility when you're actually doing testing. It's almost like a black box for you. But now there are solutions that actually uses AI as well as analytics that can actually give you insights around the changes that the development team has actually done, and it also tells you like what type of tests you should be actually executing for this change that the development team has actually made. So one is basically depending on the number of lines of code that has been removed or added or modified. It tells you like these are the number of test cases that you can use from your existing test pack. And if you have not written tests for the newly added code, it also tells you like these lines of codes or APIs do not have a test that is currently available in your test pack, and you should be actually using them or creating new tests in order to have the required amount of coverage. So it is very useful, especially when you're dealing with large products where you have thousands of test cases to execute. You can definitely cut down on your time by actually depending on such solutions, which actually gives you insights around the number of tests that you should be executing based on the changes that the developers have made. The fourth use case that I can think about is around test maintenance. On an average, an automation engineer almost ends up with modifying maybe 15 to 20% of the test cases in a year because your application UI has actually changed. Now, once you actually try to execute the same test case without doing a maintenance, what happens is the test cases will actually fail during a regression cycle, and you may not actually get time to fix these issues in the script, and then you may end up executing these tests manually, which actually increases your overall effort, and sometimes you may also miss your deadlines. But now there are tools that are actually available which actually has the capability of self-healing, which helps you to automatically fix the issues in the script arising from UI related changes. So the script will actually can be actually auto maintained with the help of the self-healing engine. The self-healing engine goes through the new updated user interface and finds out what has actually changed. It actually has the intelligence to go and fix the issue or the object locators within your script, and then make the script into a working condition. And it also documents what has been actually changed in the script as part of the self-healing capability. So this feature within automation platforms and tools will actually help you to cut down on your test maintenance effort, which is very useful. You're actually reducing the amount of time that you're actually spending on maintenance, and your automation ROI will be even higher because the maintenance effort is actually going to be brought down. So these are four use cases that I can think about from a test automation standpoint, actually, but there are many more that can be actually taken into consideration.
Okay, so listening to all of these benefits, I couldn't help but ask you this too. Do you think that artificial intelligence will eventually replace testers?
Very common question. First of all, AI in the current form and maturity, I don't think there is any threat, or no one needs to be concerned around the fact that AI is actually going to be replacing human testers. I don't think it's actually going to happen for the next, I would say, like until 2030 for sure. But AI definitely has the capability to augment testers or maybe automation engineers with intelligence, because we are talking about a number of challenges that a tester has to deal with on a day-to-day basis, and AI can actually help you to find solutions around these. So AI is just can be actually thought as or thought through as an enabler rather than a replacement. So, but I would actually look at maybe using AI to actually help testers to perform their jobs better. And there can be many areas that you can actually think through. One is around productivity improvement. The one example that I mentioned around test design is definitely a place where testers can actually use an AI-based capability to generate test cases faster. So, an AI solution can actually help the testers to be more productive. It can actually help you. An AI solution can actually help you to automate some of the decision making. For example, we are talking about a solution that can actually guide you or give you information on what test you should be actually executing when depending on the changes that the development team has actually done. So automating decision making is definitely an area where AI can actually augment testers. You can also look at reducing the overall rework cost. There are solutions that can actually help you to review user stories using AI or NLP. There are solutions like self-healing that we discussed, which can actually help you to cut down on your test maintenance effort. So reducing rework cost is another area. Improving the overall experience that you provide to customers is another area of focus, which is often ignored. But there are multiple ways in which you can actually look at identifying the pain points of your end customers. There are video analytics or emotion detection technologies that can be applied in order to find out what problems that the user is facing when he or she is actually using your application. I would say the next one would be around improving the speed of testing. Maybe like you can actually use bots and other technologies of AI related technologies to actually improve the pace at which you actually do testing, so that you can actually provide faster feedback and also do maybe distributed and concurrent execution of tests. You can actually look at executing maybe like thousands of tests at the same time. So these are some of the areas where AI can actually help you to do better. But AI is definitely not a threat at this moment, Alfie.
Okay, that's interesting. And so, what are the most difficult hurdles to implementing AI based solutions, especially in an enterprise?
Okay, so this is an area which is quite challenging, and there are multiple reasons due to which it is challenging as well. So I'll actually cover maybe top 3 or 4 issues that I've seen from my experience. If you look at maybe like implementing solutions to solve some of the challenges that we discussed today, there are not many open source or commercial solutions that are currently available. I would say like maybe like there are 30% of the problems can be solved maybe using a commercial solution. For example, the solutions around maybe like self-healing, or maybe solutions around or challenges around maybe like test maintenance as well as analytics related challenges. So for example, what kind of tests you should be executing. All of those challenges can be solved using commercial solutions, but not all. So that what does that mean is basically like since there is no open source or commercial option, you have to actually go with a custom solution development. And one of the common problems that I've seen in organizations, especially with stakeholders as well as leadership, is they feel that AI can actually solve every problem there is an out-of-box solution that can be actually a ready-made solution that can be brought into the table, which can actually help you to solve the problem in a couple of days' time. But that's not the case. AI solutions, if it is basically customized, one that you're trying to implement, it takes a lot of time to actually implement it. It'll take definitely weeks or months together to actually get this implemented. So first of all, that expectation management is something, the stakeholder expectation management is something that should be actually worked upon. And everyone should be very clear on the duration that it might take to implement a solution, whether it is a testing related solution or even development related solution. Definitely going to take a good amount of time and effort. That is definitely one. Second one is basically around, I would say, most of these custom solutions that I was talking about will definitely require, or even commercial solutions also require a large volume of data in order to design, train, as well as test the model. And the quality of data also should be high. Otherwise, what would happen is if the data quality is low, and there is a challenge in providing enough data or the required volume of data to the development team as well as to the testing team, the accuracy of your solution will also come down. Many places where I've seen AI solution getting implemented, there is always a problem whether it is actually assume that you're trying to build an AI solution around defect prediction. If you're not actually giving the right set of what do you say inputs, In the sense, like, if you're not actually giving a good amount of defect log, maybe with thousands of defects, it may be very difficult for the team also to come up with a solution that will be actually accurate. So the data input and quality of data input as well as the volume, the quantity of data that you're actually giving to the development team is very important to actually design an AI based solution, whether it is testing or non-testing. The third point and the last point that I would like to touch upon is basically it will definitely take a good amount of time to get to a decent level of accuracy. In some cases, it may take weeks, or in case sometimes it may take even months to get to a decent amount of accuracy. So monitoring the accuracy level and fine tuning the models to get to the required amount of accuracy is something that will definitely take time, and this is actually a continuous process, or like something like a continuous improvement process that you should be actually implementing, so that you actually get to an acceptable level of accuracy. So people should be, even the stakeholders as well as the business team should be actually, or even the testing organization should be actually having patience to actually get to this level of accuracy, because do not expect things to work from day one. You may have solutions working from day one, but the accuracy levels may be 60%, but over a period of weeks or months you can actually get beyond 90%. So accuracy, showing patience to get to the desired level of accuracy is also very important. That's the last point that I would like to cover, Al.
Okay, so with that, we are winding up this episode of QPOD. Thank you, George, for all the insights on artificial intelligence and its greater impact on software testing.
Thank you so much, Alfie, for the opportunity.
So, thank you all for listening, and we will be back with another episode of QPOD very soon.